Welcome to PMP Exam Mindset, where we take a look at the PMP exam content outline. Today is day 28, and we're talking about task 14. The quote for today is, "Good governance is the art of looking at long-term implications of short-term decisions." When you talk about governance, you need to see it as a framework within which authority is exercised. When you have good governance, you're setting yourself up for success in the long term. You're also setting yourself up for success in the short term. Governance is often looked at as a bad word because it sounds rather restrictive, but in our book, PMP Exam Immersion, we stress that this is the framework and mechanism used to ensure that objectives are met while adhering to organizational standards and policies. Every framework should have policies and procedures. Even in the world of Agile, project governance exists. It ensures transparency and accountability. It also ensures stakeholder engagement throughout the project lifecycle. Agile governance is adaptive, and it focuses on delivering value and accommodating changes. Moving on to our true or false questions for today, the first question is, Agile projects do not require a governance structure. True or false? The answer to this, as I just stated, is false. All projects, including Agile ones, require some form of governance. While Agile governance may be more adaptive and less bureaucratic than traditional models, it still needs clear frameworks for decision-making, accountability, risk management, and stakeholder alignment to ensure project success. Question 2. Stakeholder engagement is not a part of Agile governance structure. The answer to this is again false. Stakeholder engagement is a crucial part of Agile project governance. Agile governance emphasizes continuous involvement of stakeholders to ensure that their needs are met. Feedback is incorporated and the project remains aligned with business objectives. Question 3. Agile governance structures are always less formal than traditional ones. True or false? Again, never choose blanket statements. This is false. While Agile often promotes lighter, more adaptive governance, it is not always less formal. The formality depends on the organizational context, regulatory requirements, and project complexity. Agile governance focuses on effectiveness and value delivery, which might sometimes require formal processes. Beware of questions like that on the exam that try to pigeonhole Agile or even predictive project management. Question 4. True or false? Transparency and accountability are key elements of Agile governance. The answer to this is indeed true. This is part of our mindset at higher and lower levels in Agile. For example, visible progress, open communication, and accountability. For example, clear roles, shared responsibility are fundamental to effective Agile governance. They ensure that all parties are aware of the project status and are responsible for their contributions. Final question, question 5. True or false? Agile governance does not accommodate changes in project direction. And the answer to this is, of course, false, because you know that in the world of Agile, we're all about adaptability. Agile governance is designed to accommodate and respond to changes in project direction. It provides mechanisms for adaptive planning, continuous feedback, and iterative decision-making, allowing the project to pivot as needed to deliver the most value. So now we're done with our true or false. Let's move on to the question for today. Here's the question. A large strategic project involves multiple business units, external vendors, and a complex regulatory environment. There are ambiguities regarding decision-making, authority, escalation path, and reporting requirements, leading to delays and conflicts. What is the project manager's most effective action to establish clarity and ensure effective oversight for this project? A. Work with the organizational business units and external vendors to develop a detailed communication management plan outlining all project reporting requirements and distribution lists for project updates to all project stakeholders. B. Define and implement a clear project governance framework, including roles, responsibilities, decision-making authorities, e.g., steering committee, CCB, change control board, and escalation procedures, formally communicating it to all parties. C. Rely on the existing organizational hierarchy and functional reporting lines to manage all project decision-making and issue resolution, adapting as additional risks, problems, and issues arise on the project. And D. Conduct regular informal project-related meetings with key stakeholders, to build consensus on critical project management and product decisions, avoiding the need for formal governance structures on the project. I'll give you some time to think about this. All right, now let's take a look at the logic and the rationale. The question explained at a high level. Decision making is ambiguous on this project. You're working with a number of business units, vendors, and a complex regulatory environment. The fact that the word regulatory exists shows you that this will have something to do with governance. Because of these ambiguities, as we can see here, it is leading to delays and conflicts. So you do need to do something about it. And the question is, the most effective action to establish clarity and ensure effective oversight. If we look at option A addresses communications and reporting, and that is not the same as governance, not the same as decision-making authority. So A, while it sounds good, is something you should do, but it doesn't address the problem of governance, because this is a governance issue. B, define and implement a clear project governance framework, is a sensible thing to do. Choosing B over A makes more sense because A just addresses communication, B addresses governance. Taking a look at C, it says rely on the existing hierarchy to manage all project decision making. Well, that doesn't make sense because if you're relying on the existing hierarchy, it may not cater to the actual project. The project needs for governance are different. So governance is a framework within which authority is exercised, and that could be at different levels, but at this point, we have a project governance issue. Go into option D, conduct regular informal meetings and avoiding the need for formal governance. That's not a prudent thing to do. Why would you avoid formal governance? Especially if it is needed. Like we can tell that it's needed from this example. So the best answer, my friends, would be option B. This is a governance question. Let's take a look at the answer. For complex projects with multiple stakeholders and regulatory environments, establishing a clear project governance framework, option B, is paramount. This formally defines roles, responsibilities, decision-making authority, and escalation path, providing the necessary structure and clarity to ensure effective oversight and prevent delays and conflicts from arising from ambiguity. So when you take a look at a question such as this, a few things to learn for the exam. Number one, you got to manage your time. Each one of these could take upwards of 10 to 20 seconds to read. The question itself could very well take up to 30 seconds to read. When you take a look at this, you don't have a whole lot of time to waste. So you must practice reading quick and getting down to the heart of the matter. With that said, you should also be ready to get governance-related questions and identify when the question is about governance versus when it is about something else like communication or just getting along or conflict resolution. This is important for your exam because a lot of times there's shades very, very close to each other. All right, let's go back into our outline and understand what task 14 is really talking about. So it simply states establish project governance structure. And it says determine the appropriate governance for a project. For example, replicate organizational governance and also define escalation paths and thresholds. As a project manager, you should not feel uncomfortable with establishing governance because people need that framework for authority to be exercised in a more intentional manner than just relying on luck or relying on the organization's governance at that level. It may not suffice on the project. Also, escalation paths, thresholds, levels at which you need to exert that escalation. For example, a 0.95 SPI or CPI could be a threshold for escalation. And all other parameters regarding the project and escalation should be defined as part of that governance. Remember, governance is a framework within which authority is exercised. So at a particular level, you may need higher levels of authority beyond a team member or even beyond a project manager. And all of that needs to be defined in a solid governance plan. Now, if you go back to the question refers to this governance plan, if you will, as project governance framework. Now, however you spin it, whether you call it a governance plan or you call it a governance framework, it should include the things that we just took a look at. It should contain decision-making authority, escalation paths, thresholds, and all parties involved. Over the past number of days, my friends, we've been going very steadily through the content. And this is task 14 out of 17. We have 3 more in the process domain. We have already covered the business domain, as you will find the videos available. For those of you listening to the audio, those may not be readily available, but they will become available. Remember, if you're looking for assistance as you take the PMP exam, go on down to the link tinyurl.com/elite PMP, or if you're taking the CAPM, tinyurl.com/elite CAPM, and you'll be able to take full-blown courses where I am breaking this stuff down even further. All right? If you've enjoyed today's episode, do smash the like button, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you, and bye for now.